Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Marian White, and my co-host Ken Bialo and I are so pleased to have our favorite guest with us, Mike Wiener. Just to remind everyone, Ken was mayor in the village of Larchmont for 4 years and trustee on the Larchmont Village Board for 11. And Mike was on the 5 years a trustee on the Larchmont Village Board and 3 years, I think, as the volunteer fire chief. And you've been a fireman forever, right?
Longer than I care to count.
Well, most of your life, which is amazing. Congratulations for those many years of service.
Thank you.
We do want to start by congratulating LMC-TV on their 26th annual award night, which is terrific. And then...
What really made it terrific, Marian?
Yes.
What?
Page 19.
Oh, page 19.
Ken and I congratulated them because we've been on about 26 years, right? I think so. Going back to the early 90s.
Yeah, we've been on
maybe
36 years.
So it's us and them together.
Yeah.
So congratulations,
Yes.
LMC-TV.
And congratulations to us. We've lived this long so far.
And are still on. We have some really neat, that's a Larchmont thing to talk about, and then there was one really nice thing about people that all of us know, Cindy Habig and her family. And Cindy had breast cancer in 2013, and she's such an energetic woman, so she walked with other family members in California. Then the next year, her son Robbie walked, and I mean, this walking, it's 39 miles, and so for at least 2 or 3 months, you do training, and she's worn out 4 pair of shoes to get ready for one of these things. And last year, I think it was her entire family walked, including her daughter Katie, and because they were having all these family members, that meant they had to raise more and more money for the team because they're all on the same team. So last year, they had the idea of making the Habig special family apple pie recipe. And so last year they made 100 apple pies. And it's expanding, and I think they're going for 1,000 this year, if you could imagine. But there was just this wonderful article today in The Loop about them, and I just wanted you to know to order, you can call 914-834-1174. 6-inch pies are $15 and 10-inch pies are $25. And I know you're a big fan of the 10-inch pie.
They are so yummy. They are just, in my estimation as an apple pie, never eating apple pie person, they're really fabulous. They're yummy.
Well, but you're
yummy.
A fruit pie person, so you do have standards.
Watch what you say.
Well, in the old days it was okay.
Watch what you say. You can't say that anymore.
Well, and I'm giving this to you, Mike, because I know you're interested in getting some apple pies.
Yeah, to help out my svelte figure.
Well, they're really very good, and it's just
yummy.
Wonderful. I mean, for Katie and Cindy to be making all these pies, it's just incredible.
To raise money for a great cause.
Yes.
And one that is very personal to Cindy and other members of the Habig family.
Yes. So, and then I just have one last thing. Maybe you can explain a little bit that we get New York City water, right?
The source of our water is from, shaft 22 off the one of the New York City aqueducts.
Okay, so if Mayor de Blasio increases their water rate, are they increasing our water rate?
Yes.
Well, this is good then. This is June 21st, Court Block's water rate increase for New York City.
Yes.
So we'll save a
But that's
little
only
bit
the
of
lower court.
Oh.
That's the trial court. After that, what's the date of this? June 21st? So this is reporting on something that might have happened in the last 2 or 3 days. Already the appeal is filed by the city with the appellate division, and they most likely will have the final say on whether they will go along with the rate increase or not. I think the position taken by the challengers, and the guy who's quoted here for the Rent Stabilization Authority, Rent Stabilization Association, is actually a very, very close friend of mine. The Rent Stabilization Association represents mostly small landlords around the city. It has some big landlords, but mostly small landlords. And of course, if they have to pay more to supply the water, which is included in the rent, it just comes out of their pockets.
Right.
And this year, the Rent Stabilization Board, which is a city agency, I think for a 1-year renewal, allowed no rent increase.
No increase.
And for a 2-year renewal, allowed, I think, either 2 or 3% increase in the rent. So the people who are running these, and there are 2-family houses and 4-family houses and things like that all around the village, all around the city, that provide a lot of housing, talk about affordable housing, a lot of housing, not tall, gigantic high-rises, but small. Landlord lives downstairs, somebody lives upstairs or next door or so on. So they get squeezed. They got squeezed on the rent side by the city Rent
Right.
Stabilization Board, and they got squeezed on the expense side by the mayor. Now, I think there was also a rebate that the mayor,
Right.
the mayor's people included somehow in this gobbledygook, messed up ruling, in which they said, but if you're a regular in-city water consumer, such as one of these landlords, you get a $180 rebate. But that's not going to offset all of the cost of the increase that they're putting
Right.
through in terms of they wanted to put through in terms of the water rates. That was undoubtedly aimed at us, because most of Westchester, or I should say a lot of Westchester, gets its water from the city, and we pay through the nose. In case you haven't noticed, when I moved here, when you were growing up, your water bill was $50, and now your water bill is $1,000.
And that's twice a year.
Yeah, it's twice a year. And the city has just absolutely killed the suburbs, and that's because we have green grass and they don't. The short of it is that the Rent Stabilization Association, which is not a city agency but a group of private landlords, challenged this particular water board increase as arbitrary and capricious, which is one of the standards you can win on in stopping government action. So that's what the lower court did.
So it's just for a few days that we've.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the case will be heard before the appellate division will decide, I'm sure, before September or October. I don't know when the bills go out. But the city will be pressing and saying, look, we got to settle the rates. The bills have to go out. So let's get this ruling done ASAP. And I don't know what that ASAP date is, but it'll be soon.
Okay. Well, for now, it's good news.
Yeah, for now. Thank you, Rent Stabilization Association.
So we have more Larchmont topics. It's just amazing. Did you want to describe the next level of the Larchmont Playhouse saga?
You all gave me this assignment. I wanted Mikey to do this.
Oh, okay.
So here's the deal, right? The theater is going out of business. Larchmont Playhouse is
Why
going
is
out
that?
of
Were there not enough people?
I don't know. Well, I assume that's
There's
right.
never any parking around there.
But who is the operator of that theater? It's
Clearview?
Clearview, I think. Didn't want to renew the lease. Whatever it was, the lease wasn't worth it. They have 3 small theaters here, right? Remember in the old days? It was a
one theater.
huge, gigantic building. It was very run down. And I don't remember who came in and did the work. Might have been Clearview or somebody before that.
Before Clearview, it was
Yeah, I think it was.
Cablevision.
Yeah, I think it was.
Dolan's.
Yeah, they came in and they broke it up into 3 theaters, and sort of modernized them and I don't know if you'd say modernize the concession stand. That's hard to say, but they certainly modernized the interior of the thing and broke it up into 3 theaters. And these Clearview people didn't want to renew, so they're not going to show movies here after October 1st or September 1st or something like that. So the owner. And I don't know exactly whether Clearview is the owner or somebody else, one of Clearview's subsidiaries is the owner, or somebody else privately owned it. It's got it up for sale, and according to this email that came around today, there are 2 bids ranging from 1.2 to 1.4 million. And there's a group of people in town, in the village, I should say, who would like to get contributions from people to buy the building. And as far as I can tell, it's not buying shares of some corporation. It's giving money to a 501c3 charity, which would then presumably be run by a board of directors. I don't know who that would be.
Would you get your money back if it doesn't go through?
You wouldn't actually send them the money by June 30th. What you do is pledge to send them the
okay.
money. Right? So you know what, you promise. You make a promise. I promise I'll send you the money. Anyway, it seems to me that they're gonna need a lot of money, right?
Oh,
And
yeah,
if
that's
there's
just the beginning.
6,000 people in the village of Larchmont.
That includes babies, right?
Including babies and children and all this. I don't know how 2,500 dwelling units. All right, so if you use that and divide it into a million, how much is that per person? $4,000?
Something like that.
So $1.2 million is, I don't know, 5,000. But I don't know that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to pony up $5,000 for.
That's if everyone did it.
I don't know if there's a lot of people who would do that even. Forgetting about 6,000 people or 2,500 dwelling units. I don't know if there'd be a lot of people who would do it. Yeah, there might be 100. And some people I'm sure would be willing to put up more, but
it's not clear what they're going to do with it, is it?
Well, you see, they want to do, the 501c3 proposes to transform the theater into a center that shows independent films. And I'm not sure what that means. Indie films can be Steven Spielberg films. I mean, I don't get indie films anyway. Foreign movies and documentaries, that's really interesting, as well as kids films.
There's a place like that in Stamford.
Well, there's a place like that in your house. You don't even have to go to Netflix. You have all
But
kinds
it's right
of
by
documentaries.
Dairy Queen in Stamford. It's worth going to.
Well, this is right down the street from the ice cream parlor and from the
okay.
Chinese restaurant, the Italian restaurant. So there's, it's not, but there isn't a lot of parking. People were originally talking about making this into a music venue where they're going to have thousands of people come and listen to music. Where are you going to put them? How are they going to get there? They're all going to take the train from Manhattan, right, and come up here to listen to music. So, anyway, this is a project.
It's a project, and how do you keep it a going concern? The reason the movie theater couldn't do it, they couldn't make money on it.
Right.
That's a better question. That's a better question than saying, you just give me a bunch of money and I'm going to run a 501c3 for you, and I can do whatever I want. Me and the board of directors can do whatever I want. Make it into something that you propose will bring back the movies, somebody who can rent movies. And I think the answer is, if Clearview as an operator can't succeed, how's a bunch of Larchmont residents going to succeed?
And maintain a building, because it's not a small building.
No, it's a nice building.
Unfortunately, it's not a young building.
Oh, so there will be,
so,
down the road, there will be
there's
more
maintenance,
work.
in a building of there's standard maintenance you have to worry about funding. How do you make it, you're going to have staff at some point. How do you fund them? Because people, I don't think, are going to want to do it for free.
It's very unfortunate. Right here in the village of Marian, right? Movie theater went out.
We lost that one.
2 years ago? Year and a half?
Is that because of New Rock?
I don't think so. I think I think the times have changed. We were discussing this on the train. It's not just the movie theaters. If you take a look at our stores, the economics of the times and how the internet has changed our shopping behaviors. Mm-hmm. So now what you're seeing is the loss of local stores, because we don't tend to shop locally anymore. We tend to shop on the internet.
Right.
Shopping. Still have nail salons and still have cleaning services.
And bars.
And bars, because you can't send that stuff
and
through
restaurants.
the internet.
But it's interesting to see how is it our communities are changing over time. And I guess one of the questions that comes up as a result of this is, how is it that we want to affect the change? I mean, we lost Dan Taylor.
Right.
The Five and Dime has been closed for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. They actually fixed the building so something can go into it. Look at all the other stores, the
Chatsworth Avenue.
On Chatsworth,
Right.
that are, the
Used to be Horizon Food.
Yeah.
all those.
That
And
seems-
Cleaners, jewelry.
so what is it from a standpoint that you want to use your village centers for now, if they're not going to be mercantile?
So we concluded it should be for schools, to retrain people.
Oh, for old people schools.
Well, all people.
It doesn't have to
because-
be old people, it can be young people too, but
Okay.
schools to help people get adjusted to what essentially what
these-
amounts to a completely different economy than we experienced growing up.
It's because one of the things you're taking a look at, and this was one of the conversation points that was very interesting, was unlike the earlier times, education is now a continuing affair. You have to constantly be retraining yourself, learning new techniques and tips as the times keep changing.
Right.
I mean, we're in the information revolution, as we love to call it, but we can't stand still.
But it accelerates geometrically, it doesn't
All the
accelerate
time.
arithmetically, it accelerates geometrically, so there's more and more and more and more that you have to keep track, whatever your chosen.
Profession.
Reading the newspapers, I mean, you read them if you can't operate your cell phone or your computer, it's hard to get hold of it. You can go and buy it, but it's much more convenient if you know how to operate the thing,
Right.
the gizmos. You get them faster, and there are more features and more sections that they don't want to print, low HUD or whatever in the stupid daily, what's it
Yeah.
called, the journal news.
And it's
I get papers delivered every morning, thank you.
So
Real
do I,
ones.
but I don't get low HUD,
No, I don't either.
which is where all the local news is.
Yeah.
So what you get is the garbage that comes out of Gannett. I get the same thing. You get one section which is supposed to be Westchester in New York, which has got how many fires there were in Mount Vernon and how many people were shot.
No, I get the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times.
You don't get the local. I get the
No.
local. That's what I'm
Well, I
talking
rely on you to tell me what's going on.
about. Really. The last person on earth to know that Bill Clinton had a girlfriend named the Energizer Bunny. The feds. I mean, she apparently.
That's her nickname for the feds?
The feds nicknamed her the Energizer Bunny. And she goes in and out of Clinton's residence, and the Secret Service, she has a special pass, so she's the one a person who is allowed, according to this,
Yeah.
is allowed to go in and out without stopping and identifying herself and all stuff. She comes and goes at will. And they named her the Energizer Bunny. So you think that you're
What
getting
a
everything
great
from
nickname.
me? You think you're getting everything from me? Well, you didn't get that from me in time. Everybody else in the county knows about that.
Well, that's certainly interesting.
Yeah, I thought, see, if you just keep going in a straight line, at some point you can branch off and say something that has absolutely nothing to do with the conversation.
But it's fun.
And there you go.
Well, so next series topic, which we can see where it takes us,
fractal theory.
String theory.
the Larchmont moratorium.
Well, you should introduce the background. You know as much about this as we do.
Well, what I know, I live in the Pine Brook area, and so there was on Vanderburg, there was a lot sold where it got through zoning and whatever else, Board of Trustees,
Planning.
to build 4 houses on one lot.
It's not
And
that was
no one
that was
batted
Luke's
an
mother.
eyelash.
Luke's mother.
Okay.
But it wasn't getting through zoning. It was as of right with zoning.
It's an acre property.
It was an acre property, a quarter acre zoning, so it was as of, I think the
It's
key.
less than quarter acre zoning. It's 10,000 foot zoning.
The key is it didn't need a variance.
Okay.
I think the issue is what we're seeing here is we're seeing subdivision in Larchmont that can be done within the current zoning regulations.
Right.
And the question is, and I think the debate is that what everyone wants to continue? And if not, how do you change it?
Well, but I think there's a little different dimension on the 40 Ocean property, and that is that it is historic. And it does overlook the water, and it's part of the waterfront development of what used to be, I don't know whether the golf course went all the way over that far or it didn't, but there's history there that there isn't in other places in the village. When I say history, I don't mean every place doesn't have a history. Of course it does, but this is part of the original developments of the village as a summer place for the Broadway people. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those huge houses, and it's on a big piece of property. And so I think the argument here is a little different than just redeveloping an acre's worth of property in town. It's, here's a house sitting on a hill that overlooks the harbor that was evidently far as I can tell, one of those that was famous in some respect. And the owner sold it, and the new owner wants to tear the house down and put up 4 houses. I guess it's an acre, so you had 15,000-foot zoning, so you'd put up 4 houses. And so in my mind, it's a little different than just the development question, although I don't think anybody who lives in Larchmont now would like to live in Queens. If they did, they'd have moved to Queens. All right, but
That's where we're headed?
but you and I know when we redid the zoning code, and by the way, this particular email is very critical of Richard Price. It says that his conclusions were non-existent and his work superficial, which I don't really think is fair, because when you retain an expert, you tell the expert what you want him to do. So if you want the expert to do nothing, you'll tell him, don't, or her, don't do nothing.
Or you won't give them direction of what you want done.
Yeah, experts are at the command of the people who retain them. The experts themselves don't deserve to be criticized for doing what they're told to do. We had him in our rezoning process. He was our expert, and I thought he did a very good job. And
So who is saying these things about him?
a group.
And one of the things we learned when we did the rezoning,
I'm not sure of the group. Excuse me, just let me finish. I'm not sure of the group. It's Preserve Larchmont or something.
Right.
But
It's those signs
yeah,
everywhere.
I want to add this. Yeah, we have one in our front yard.
Yes.
And there's another comment. Furthermore, Mr. Price did complete the work Mr. Price did complete did not address many of the issues we have. And then the next paragraph below goes on to list the issues that we have. It's the same issues that we addressed in 2002 and 2003. If you may remember, we had 3 phases. One was McMansions, get that done quickly. The second phase was clean up the code. There were lots of typos and
right.
inconsistent
And we
things.
did that.
And we did that. And then I went out of office as the mayor, and the project was dropped. So phase 3, which is a lot of the things that these people are talking about, the tough stuff in the zoning code, was not addressed. But that wasn't Mr. Price's fault, and it's not Mr. Price's fault now.
Mr. Price, it was, and I think the key that we had here was one of the things that we learned in the zoning back then is you can't make everyone non-compliant with a new code.
Well,
You have, and I don't remember offhand, and I don't want to sit there and say how much you can do, but one of the, because I'm sure someone will come up if I said a number to tell me I'm wrong, but you can only do, the zoning cannot make everyone non-compliant. You can't change the zoning to, like take Larchmont and make it all 2-acre zoning.
this is correct. In addition, what we learned is you can pass regulations that you hope will encourage people not to have McMansions, but at the end of the day, the architects, after a couple of years, will figure out
How to do it.
get around whatever you do. And if you don't do it every 2 or 3 years, talk about re-educating yourself and repurposing yourself. If you don't do the code every couple of years, you're not going to stay ahead
To
of
fix
them.
the loopholes.
Yeah,
Because they'll
find them. It's their job.
and they're good at it. And I think the key with it also was that we learned you can't do spot zoning.
Yes, you cannot do spot zoning.
And what is spot zoning?
You zone a parcel.
Or a couple of parcels
Oh.
in one little area. This is a special area.
So whatever happens to 40 Ocean has to apply to similar...
It will be generalized. And we talked about historic preservation back in 2002 and 2003. And the hue and cry from the other side of the aisle was, oh my God, if you make these houses historic, then people won't be able to change them for modern conveniences
Right.
and the way we live in 1999 or 2002, whatever it is. And they won't be able to repaint their buildings. A chamber of horrors. You won't be able to retile a bathroom or something.
The values will go down.
And the values will go down, but there is a way to work that problem that would make it doable, which is to set up some sort of accelerated approval process when you're dealing with houses in an historic district. And I don't know what the district would be, but it certainly would include the waterfront. And yes, that means that people cannot sell their 4-acre lots or their 2-acre lots or their 1-acre lot and build a lot of houses. That's exactly what it means. So to the extent that there is historic preservation all over the country, right? On the Register of National Historic Places, and it's true in Manhattan as well. You can do it. It takes a little will. You got to have the willpower to do it and be willing to set up some sort of a process that allows changes to be made that make sense on an accelerated basis and not, the usual 6 months in Larchmont. The architect's the builder's nightmare, go to Larchmont, try and get a permit to do something.
I think to me, I'm
I know you have a different view.
I'm on the other side of the equation, and I'm on the side that if it's as of right and it's private property, you get the right to do what it is to your property. And by that is if you bought 4 acres of land and it's zoned at an acre zoning, you can change it. It's your thing. And I think mainly because it's been done so many times before, it's how Larchmont grew up. In 1891, when Larchmont started as a summer community, if you look at the old maps on the map store on Larchmont Avenue, you'll see there were not very many houses. The lots were huge.
Right.
Went Avenue was a one property concept. 1891 to now, we're not talking all that many years.
Right.
I mean, this place has been, when I grew up here, and no, don't try and date me, there was still, open nurseries that don't exist now. Now we have a condo complex on one of them, houses on another were what was a nursery, and the place has changed. And I think it's going to change yet again.
But the dimension that I'm talking about with this particular house, the Vanderberg Avenue issue,
We do have to.
did
last
not
comment.
involve
A signature house.
a signature house, and there wasn't a preserve Larchmont hysteria that came
Right.
about with respect to 40 Ocean, because it was a relatively undistinguished, if you will, area. But there is a historic area in Larchmont, and I do think that helps to preserve the character of the village. And if we run out of time, then we're out of time. But I think that's an important point and an important
Well,
distinction.
why don't you come back next time and we'll continue the discussion and get to Yale poets or English teachers. Well, thank you very much to the real talent on the other side, and we hope you'll come back. And hope you'll come back.
No.
No.
I'm going to go see the Energizer Bunny. That's what I'm doing.
Take pictures. Take care.
Thank you.